Welcome to the Three Martini Lunch. Grab a stool next to Greg Columbus of Radio America and Jim Garrity of National Review. Three Martinis coming up.
Very glad to have you with us for the Friday edition of the Three Martini Lunch. Jim Garrity, of course, is away, and here once again in his place is the Undisputed King of Stuff, Jon Gabriel. He is the longtime editor-in-chief at Ricochet.com, columnist now for Discourse Magazine through the Mercatus Center and also for the Arizona Republic. And let's dive into our first one, and this happened over in El Paso, Texas yesterday. You can find plenty of videos of this online, but basically migrants getting fed up and charging the fence, a National Guard, or at least Texas National Guard, soldiers trying to stem the flow into our country. Take a listen to this. So it was very tense. You could hear them slamming into the fence. They were confronting and jostling our National Guard soldiers there. It turns out only one person was actually arrested for that, John. Guess what happened to many of the rest of them? That's right. They got led into the country. That video came to us from New York Post Texas reporter Jenny Terre, and she then explained what happened after that to Dana Perino at Fox News Channel.
Many of these people did get processed by Border Patrol under Title VIII, which is what is typically used for what we know as catch and release. These are people that are mainly released into the country. So this sends the message to people around the world that even if you act like this, you can probably get into the country. And I think they continue to push these boundaries and to see what they can get away with.
And so, John, we also heard yesterday that 200,000 deportation cases got dismissed in this country because the Department of Homeland Security did not file the legal paperwork in time for those cases. And it's not like they're held the next day. So, again, the question has to be raised. Incompetence, dereliction, or intentional by this government. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it can only be intentional, and it has been this way for quite a while. People are kind of left scratching their heads, wondering about, what's the reason behind this? Is this, I don't know, they want to help census numbers of certain districts. They want to help the voter rolls. There's all sorts of craziness going on with this immigration, and everybody's been trying to ignore it. Now we're in election year, and so certain Democrats on occasion will mention that, this isn't terribly popular. And I know polls over the past couple of months has listed immigration as the number one issue in voters' minds, which is a pretty darn rare thing. It's usually the economy, maybe if there's a big war going on, but people are really upset about this, and this isn't even, a partisan concern anymore. It's one of those 80-20 issues that politicians are usually looking to get on the correct side of because they're just so naturally popular, yet Democrats keep promoting this. It's just really crazy, and you wonder, especially, set aside the presidential race, you really wonder what Democrats are thinking who are running for office, especially in the border states, but in places like New York, Illinois, places where these illegal immigrants are flooding into. And every once in a while, they'll issue a press release and saying, hey, we don't like this, President Biden, fix it. And then they say nothing for the next 6 months or something. I really hope Democrats are held accountable for this at the ballot box, which is apparently the only thing that will change this policy.
Yeah, that's why they're scrambling, and Biden's trying to claim the high ground on it now, which is an absolutely ludicrous position for him to take. The numbers shifted on a dime the second he took office with all those executive orders. And we don't officially have a good martini, but the fact that this is the number one issue is largely due to the fact that Greg Abbott and to some extent Ron DeSantis got these immigrants onto buses, sent them to the self-proclaimed sanctuary cities, and then residents in those cities and the surrounding suburbs could see this isn't just an issue that El Paso and Laredo and Brownsville and places like that need to deal with. Now it's in their face, and they have to deal with it, and so it's become a big issue. So he took a lot of heat for it, but I think Abbott's move in that direction to let the sanctuary cities put their money where their mouth is, has really opened the eyes of a lot of Americans. Whether it makes the difference in the end, I don't know.
Yeah, we can only hope so. And yeah, just making kind of a public stink about it. And especially when people are arriving in Washington, D.C., they're arriving in New York City, Chicago, These are media centers, and it's pretty darn hard to ignore. It's very easy to ignore what's going on in Eagle Pass and Yuma, places like that, because they aren't exactly huge media centers. But yeah, you can't ignore it when it's affecting your city right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And when Eric Adams and Muriel Bowser and even Brandon Johnson, who makes Eric Adams probably look downright Reagan-esque right. comparison, when they realize they can't demagogue the issue anymore and it's serious, I think everybody realizes that it's the case. So we'll see who exploits it. We'll see who comes up with an actual idea. The Democrats are trying to claim that opposition to this Senate bill is the end-all, be-all, and that Republicans don't care about the border. Republicans, of course, passed the House bill, which was much stronger on border security, but of course the media and the Democrats don't care about that one. All right, let's talk about 4Patriots. And for their great deals, you can always go to 4patriots.com/martini. The best deal they've got going right now is getting the free solar panel with the purchase of the Patriot Power Generator 2000X. This thing's got double the capacity it had in previous models, and it's expandable so you can run the big appliances like your fridge even longer. It's got 12 outlets, including 4 AC to power more devices at once, plus 2 USB-C outlets that can charge your phone 20 times faster than a regular plug. It has no need of gas ever because it comes with a solar panel, fume-free, silent, and safe, 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Also, don't forget about great deals on the Solar Go fridge, the Sauna Wrap therapeutic blanket, and the Vital Swing therapeutic wellness machine. Visit 4patriots.com/martini to get your Patriot Power Generator 2000X with the free solar panel included. Plus, get free shipping on orders over $97. Save more and get peace of mind now by going to the number 4patriots.com/martini. That's 4patriots.com/martini. All right, John, this story is actually from a day or two ago, but it's so infuriating, and it's one that you and I have talked about before, that it needs to be dealt with, and that is the issue of the Biden administration's unilateral EPA emissions regulations that they announced on Wednesday. And, of course, the goal is to cut planet-warming emissions from passenger vehicles, as the Associated Press puts it. It says the new rules relax initial tailpipe limits proposed last year, but eventually get close to the same strict standards set out by the EPA. The rules come as sales of electric vehicles, which are needed to meet the standards, have begun to slow, so no coincidence there. But here's the completely unrealistic projection here. The EPA said that under its final rule, the industry could meet the new emissions limits if 56% of new vehicle sales are electric by 2032, along with 13% plug-in hybrids or other partially electric cars, as well as more efficient gasoline-powered cars that get more miles to the gallon. That would be a huge increase over current EV sales, which rose to 7.6% of new vehicle sales last year, up from 5.8% the year before. Now, Ohio Congressman Bob Latta, who represents Northwest Ohio, obviously an industrial state, says this is an absolute disaster, and he's right. He says, make no mistake, this rule from the EPA today is a de facto ban on gas-powered cars. He says unnecessary and strict tailpipe emission standards have one goal, and that goal is to take away Americans' choice when purchasing a new car. We simply do not have the electric vehicle infrastructure, critical mineral production, or energy generation available to support a fully electric vehicle fleet. And he goes on to bash the Biden administration for being out of touch and not giving the Americans the choices they need and deserve. So it's absolutely an assault on the free market. John, you and I have talked about the left's war on the freedom of movement. They want us siloed in big cities and using public transportation instead of having our own vehicles. And this is a step to doing that because the electrical grid in, 8 years that they want this goal to be met by? Never going to reach that by then. Not even close.
Yeah, it's just insane. What's so frustrating to me about this, just any kind of energy issue and all these crazy electric vehicle standards are just one example of it, is the left likes to look at engineering issues, physics issues as moral issues. They're not moral issues, and even if they were, electric cars are not more moral than gasoline-powered cars. And it's just so bizarre to watch this. They think that, well, instead of me pumping gas and, creating energy within the engine itself, Instead, they should create energy at the, I don't know, either nuclear plant or coal-fired plant or oil-fired plant. If those places create the energy and I load it into my car, oh, that's moral energy. That's not how life works. That's not how science works. It's not how math works. And it's just so maddening that people in Washington don't seem to understand this common sense fact. There are many uses for electric vehicles. If you want one, buy one. But when the government is mandating these things, it's just crazy. It doesn't make sense. Just recently in my neighborhood, they put this big bank of charging stations. I don't know, probably half a mile from me. Tesla put them up, and you just see cars there, sitting there, often idling while they're charging, which I don't quite understand, into the late hours of the evening. Look, if that's the lifestyle you're looking for, I don't know, maybe you can make a friend at the charging station. Good for you. But for the rest of us, just let us do what we feel like.
I don't see you making a lot of friends at the charging station, Dan. That's just my take on your personality. But yes, I mean, they can't handle the grid. So when you're going to have to ration energy, essentially, if you try to do this, because they don't have the capacity, which means all of our power bills are going to go up, which means those on the lower end of the income scale are going to suffer most. Poverty will increase and that sort of thing. But there's more. This was just a week ago. Hat tip to the New York Post for pointing this out. A new study shows that electric vehicles release more toxic particles into the atmosphere and are worse for the environment than their gas-powered counterparts. The study, published by emissions data from Emission Analytics, was released in 2022, but has attracted a wave of attention since being cited by the Wall Street Journal. It found that brakes and tires on EVs release 1,850 times more particle pollution compared to modern tailpipes, which have efficient exhaust filters, bringing gas-powered vehicles' emissions to new lows. So that is insane on top of everything else. And don't forget, if you want an electric vehicle with those fancy schmancy batteries with the rare earth minerals, you're basically exploiting child slave labor in Africa. So you can take your ethics somewhere, but it's not going to be to the moral high ground here.
Yeah, exactly. There's this Thomas Sowell quote, which I'm always reminded of, especially on energy issues. And the madness of the left is, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. Solar is a great way to get energy if the conditions are right, and it might cost more, it might not work in the evenings. There are all sorts of things with the EV. I live out west, very far distances. We'll go on a family trip. I want to go to the next city. Well, you're going to be driving for a long, long time to get there. If I only used a vehicle to commute short distances, maybe electric would be the right choice for me. If you have a rancher in Montana, I doubt it's the right choice for that rancher. So you just have to let people make the best decision for themselves. This is where you let the market decide, and just understand that electric vehicles are not more moral than gas-powered vehicles. They work better in some aspects. They work worse in others.
The more you study the green movement, you just see that it's basically an anti-capitalism movement from start to finish. And I've heard some folks describe it as a watermelon, green on the outside, red on the inside. All right. Well, I can imagine that the idea of much higher energy bills and having no choice in what vehicle you own, if you can even have one at all, would drive you to toss down a couple of drinks. But if you're going to do that, at least take Z-Biotics first, and that way your next morning won't be so rough. Z-Biotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic drink, and it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by a PhD scientist to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut, and it's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down, so just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night, then drink responsibly, because if you have too much that night, you're still going to feel that way, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/3ml to get 15% off your first order when you use 3ml at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Visit zbiotics.com/3ml and use the code 3ml at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. All right, John, on to our crazy martini now. And I wish this one had a lot of laughs in it, like yesterday when we were talking about the absurdity of people trying to defend cannibalism. This one is sadly predictable, but it's crazy in the sense that, you have people in this country, particularly on the political left and certainly in large percentages on college campuses, trying to tell us something that's simply not true when it comes to the situation in the Middle East. They'll tell us that the two-state solution is the way to go, and the vast majority of Palestinians don't look at Hamas. They just want to live in peace and let their children have a peaceful future living side by side with Israel. Don't believe it. I wish they wanted to live in peace next to the Israelis. They don't. This is a survey from the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research, and the results are as follows. 71% of Palestinians approve the October 7th terrorist attacks. 91% say Hamas committed no war crimes. I'll take my check right there. I don't even need the rest of these numbers, but let's get to them anyway. 59% want Hamas to rule Gaza after the war, and a plurality of 46% favor a strategy of armed struggle against Israel. So I guess this is a super-duper silent majority among the Palestinians that just want to live with rainbows and butterflies and live side by side, Jen.
Yeah, it's just so pathetic to see people stumbling around, people like Blinken, Biden, and the UN just trying to constantly blame Israel for this, trying to constantly blame them for trying to simply protect themselves. Something that people don't seem to understand is when, after the Holocaust, Jewish folks got together and said, never again. Okay, it's not just a nice sentiment. It's not something that you stitch on your throw pillows at home. Not only was it kind of a reminder of what they've endured for millennia now, but it's also a promise. They are warning the people who hate them, we're not going to let this happen again, period. So the UN can dance around, the State Department can dance around and try to appease and accommodate these murderous thugs running Gaza right now. Israel is not going to let it happen, period. And you have to deal with reality and understand that they're going to protect themselves. Seems like the vast majority of right-thinking people will be by their side. And I'm sorry, if it's a dwindling number of people, if they have to go it alone, they will go it alone because never again is a promise. So sorry, Palestinian people who love Hamas and think they're just swell and great leaders. And obviously, looking at photos of Gaza, they've done a real wonderful job here of leading that tiny strip of land. Israel's not going to let it happen again. I, for one, am thankful for that. You might want to not get on their bad side and start a war. The old thing from high school, don't start none, won't be none. Yeah, sorry, guys. You made a very poor decision in October, and the people who made that decision will be eliminated one by one.
No, that's exactly correct. And the left does this all the time. We saw in the summer of 2020 when you had the media and some more moderate, supposedly Democrats saying, oh, nobody really wants to abolish or defund the police. And then the reaction is, yes, we do. Or we don't actually want to abolish ICE. Yeah, we do. And then, oh, nobody really wants the annihilation of Israel from the river to the sea. It's just about, recognizing and respecting Palestinians. No, we actually do. And so every effort by the supposedly reputable left to try and wash the stink off the radicals is always met by that sort of thing. But I'm pleased to see, and I'm not surprised, that Benjamin Netanyahu did not go cower in the corner after Chuck Schumer's speech last week. I think he probably just gave it a quick glance and said, whatever, and moved on.
Yeah, and it's a situation to say Netanyahu decided to, take a tourism trip to Mars or something and is completely unavailable for the next 20 years. Whoever would replace him, whoever would take over from whatever prominent party in Israel would be doing the same thing. This is not a Benjamin Netanyahu thing. This is an Israeli survival thing. And it's just crazy that they're trying to focus on him as the bad guy. Maybe you can try to get rid of the Hamas leadership, White House. How about that? Send Anthony Blinken over to ask the Qataris why so many top Hamas leaders are lounging in their fancy resorts out there. You're not going to change the mind of the common Israeli, and switching leaders will not change the fact that they want to protect themselves. They actually have this crazy idea that they would like to survive.
Amen. I should probably have not ascribed the word whatever to Benjamin Netanyahu. He's not Gen X. That's officially our trademarked I don't care what you say reaction. I think he was born in the 40s, so he's probably got some sort of 60s slang that he would throw in there. But the sentiment is exactly the same.
Yeah. Instead of whatever, it's all groovy. He's going to get rid of Hamas, and just watch him do it.
Exactly right. Jon, always good to have you with us. We'll do it again late next week. See you then.
Sounds great.
Jon Gabriel, the Undisputed King of Stuff, longtime editor-in-chief at Ricochet.com, columnist for Discourse Magazine and the Arizona Republic. In for Jim Garrity, who is away, I'm Greg Corumbus of Radio America. Thanks very much for listening. Please subscribe to the 3 Martini Lunch if you don't already. Tell your friends about it as well. Thanks also for your 5-star ratings and your kind reviews. Find us also on your home devices. All you have to say is play 3 Martini Lunch podcast. Follow us all on X. Jon is at XJon, EXJON. Jim is at Jim Garrity, and I'm at Dateline_DC. Have a great weekend, and join us again on Monday for the next 3 Martini Lunch.